Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. This month I'm participating in the Best of 30 Days Sketches series with Christy's Beautiful Life. Today is day 2 and I'm going to be using the sketch to create a fun layout of my husband and I on vacation in Epcot. Here is the sketch by Suzanna Lee that I'm going to be using. This is another new design for me, but I'm excited to give it a try. I have 2 photos that I'm going to be using of our trip through Epcot's World Showcase. So I've chosen some bright, playful papers for my page that add a little bit of that whimsical Disney feel. I was inspired by this sticker that I found in my collection. I completely forgot that I had it, and it's going to be perfect for this page. I love the little polka dots on this, and I'll probably end up using a few of the other stickers in this set. The album I'm creating for our Disney trip is an 8.5 by 11 album, so I am going to need to alter this sketch a little bit. To create that larger triangle, I've cut a strip of pattern paper that is 4 inches by 8.5 inches. I'm going to mark the center point with a pencil, and then I'm going to make a mark on either side at about 3/4 of an inch from the top. I'm going to place this onto my paper cutter, and then I'm going to match up the marks along that cutting guide so that I can cut the angle. This triangle is going to sit at the top of the page. I'm going to add some more patterns below it like it shows in the sketch, but I'm going to cheat just a little bit and cut paper strips instead of triangles. The ends of these paper strips are going to be hidden behind the photo, so you won't even know that it hasn't been cut into a triangle. I have backed my 2 photos with white cardstock, and I'm going to place them onto some blue grid paper. Before I adhere everything down, I do want to add a little bit of color below my photo. Now this time I remembered to prep my paper with a little bit of clear gesso. I've gone ahead and placed some spun sugar onto my glass board, and then I've thinned it out with some water. And now I'm just going to add some splotches of ink along the base of the page. It's not dripping, but it's still giving me the effect that I like. So I've gone ahead and let the background dry, and I'm going to start adding some of those triangles and other elements to my page. I want the edges of the triangles to look like frayed fabric. I've gone ahead and inked the edges with matching inks, and then I'm going to use an edge distressor to rough up the sides. If you don't have an edge distressor, you can also do this with a pair of scissors, or you can use your fingernail or a nail file to rough up the edges of the paper. Now the points of these triangles are going to be covered with the photo, so I'm not really worried about any of them crossing over there in the center. Once I have those triangle shapes in place, I'm going to lay down my photo. I have distressed the edge of that grid paper and added some ink to the edges. On 2 of the edges of the photo, I'm going to add some little strips of torn polka dot paper. I'm going to be placing flowers in these corners, and this little bit of product strip is going to back those florals really nicely. Now I'm going to go off camera and add a little bit of stitching, and then I'll start working on my embellishments. One of my favorite memories about this location was the gardens, so I want to add a few flowers to my page. Even though it was January when we visited, there were still quite a few flowers in bloom, which is completely opposite from where we live in Colorado. During January, there is nothing on the ground, so I really did enjoy seeing all of the beautiful gardens and flowers as we traveled through each of the pavilions. I have gone ahead and cut all of my flower dies from white cardstock, and then I'm going to be using some distress oxide inks to add just a little bit of shading. I've chosen to use a small blending brush to shade the petals and the flowers. I am going to leave a little bit of each flower white so that it stands out against the pattern papers. On these larger flowers, I've used spun sugar for the petals, and I'm adding weathered wood for the stems and leaves. This is kind of a gray-blue color, so it's going to match the other blue shades in the layout. For the medium-sized flowers, I'm going to be using antique linen to make them kind of a cream-colored yellow. Again, I am leaving some of the areas white, and I'm just adding shading and bits of color around the petals. For the centers of these flowers, I'm going to be using that spun sugar just to bring in a little bit more pink. Now you might be wondering why I'm using an old Cricut mat to shade these flowers. So you've probably seen in previous videos where I tack down my watercolor projects and my coloring projects on these. It also works really well to hold down little die cuts that you need to add shading to. It keeps them from moving, and it also keeps your fingers from getting too much ink on them. Now you can see here I have some smaller flowers that I have started adding some speckled egg ink to. I'm going to layer these flower pieces on top of each other. So some of them are going to have ink at the top and others are going to have ink at the base of the petals. To assemble the flowers, I'm going to be using some thinner foam tape. These flower dies came with a layering guide to help me determine where each piece goes. Honeybee Stamps is really good at providing these layering guides for all of their lovely layers flowers, and they come in handy when you're trying to put all of the pieces together. The larger flower is going to be layered as shown with foam tape between each layer. The cream-colored flowers just need that little center cut glued in place. Now this die does come with another center cut for this flower, but today I'm choosing not to use it because I want to keep these flowers really simple. On those little bluebells, I'm going to layer 2 sets of flowers on top of each other. I'm going to shape the petals in the front just a little bit and offset them a bit to create a lovely layered flower. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish these flowers off camera, and then we'll start adding everything to the layout. You can see here that I have added stitching to those triangle shapes at the top of the page, and I did add some stitching at the base of the page to kind of give me a little grounding point for my title. I'm going to add my photos close to the top third of the layout so that I have enough room for all of my journaling, because most of my embellishments are going to be at the base of the page. Now, instead of placing the title across the photos like it's shown in the sketch, I'm going to place mine in the lower right corner, and I'm going to layer it in front of that Eiffel Tower sticker that I have. Below that, I have a cute little saying sticker that kind of gives a nod to the fact that this is a Disney trip. It says, "Smiles from ear to ear." Now, since the gardens were most memorable to me, I am adding a few of those flowers I made. As I'm adding all of the flowers to this layout, I keep debating on the yellow flower because it is the only yellow that I have on the page. But after I play with the layers a little bit and tuck some of them behind the photo, I discover that I do like how it adds a little bit of brightness to the page. As I was layering the flowers, I realized that I forgot to add those torn paper strips behind the flowers before I adhered them down. So instead, I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the edges of these and try to tuck them up and glue them onto the frame around the photo. I do like how this looks much better than the way that I had planned. If I had layered these paper strips underneath the flowers, you probably would not have been able to see them. To bring some more Disney-ish items to the page, I'm using a few of the bits from the cardstock stickers that the Eiffel Tower came from, and I'm adding some stickers from the Magical Adventure collection. That banner is hiding my arm that was showing in the photo. This vacation was only the second time in our lives that we attempted to take selfies together, and I'm realizing that it needs a little bit of work. In the sticker collection with the Eiffel Tower, there were some chevrons that have that same blue polka dot pattern. I've gone ahead and placed one near the banner, and then I've also placed another one at the top of the page. This just creates a nice visual triangle with that polka dot pattern. Now, originally I put that blue heart at the top of the page, but it felt a little bit isolated and out of place, so I ended up moving it down to the banner. Now all I need to do is add some journaling, and this page is complete. For the journaling, I printed my story onto some clear sticker paper that I have in my Cricut collection. You can just type it up on your computer, run that sticker paper through your printer, and then when you cut it out and lay it on your scrapbook page, all of the elements below show through. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that sketch from Suzanna Lee and see how my page compares. This sketch was created for a 12 by 12 layout, but I pared it down to fit my smaller Disney album. I was able to add the triangles at the top and the two photos in the center. The photos are a little bit larger on this page, but you can still see those sweet little triangle stripes in the background. Instead of the title on the right side of the photos, I anchored mine to the base of the page, and I layered it on top of an Eiffel Tower sticker that helps to tell the story of us being in the French Pavilion. All in all, this is a fun little page. I wasn't sure if this sketch would work on a smaller layout, but it does create a lovely design, and I was able to record some memories of our trip. If you are enjoying the Best of 30 Days sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life, you can view the playlist of all of the participants down in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that this project inspired you to try something new and give this sketch challenge a try. If you have any questions about the project or the supplies that I listed below, please feel free to leave me a comment. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.